Hello, welcome back to Tuluhall Chronicles. In the last episode, I spoke about finding out I was pregnant. It was at one of the toughest times in my life, and when I look back and I think back, a lot of what happened was as a result of how tough it was. So the last episode, I shared that baby daddy one and I had gone to the doctors, and the sonographer had revealed to us that we were expecting. It was mind-blowing. It was absolutely mind-blowing. I was so happy. I was like so happy, and yet my heart was still so broken. It was something that I couldn't keep. I was so excited to share with people that I was going to be having a baby, and I was not only having one baby, I was going to be having two babies. So I was like over the moon, excited, happy, could not wait to meet my babies. Almost immediately, baby daddy one and I started sort of changing things like our diet. We started changing the type of activities we were doing. He was still working on trying to prove to me that, he had changed, which no one really ever changes. I think one of the things you discover as you get older is people change if they want to. If it's not something that they want to do, they're not going to change. And no matter how much you want to try and push and encourage and shape a person, they're not going to do it until they're ready to do it. So we were trudging along, looking at things like our cart, prams, just sort of preparing. I started experiencing constipation, which constipation is not something that a lot of people would be like, oh, it's really bad. But in pregnancy, it can be really bad. And this constipation continued. So I was frequenting hospital, in, out, just sort of really struggling with this. Also, I was experiencing really bad morning sickness. I was ill, guys. I had lost so much weight from the heartbreak, obviously, and I continued to lose weight from the pregnancy. And I sadly lost both my babies. They were boys. We named them. We gave them names, and it was a tough time. It was an extremely tough time. I was very angry at life. I was angry at him. I was angry at God. I felt worse than chewing gum off someone's shoe. I really just felt so worthless. I felt like I didn't have any self-worth. I felt like I didn't have anything. And it was probably at that point that I can say I came to an awareness of how all of us, every human being, is engaged in the process of discovering who we really are and what we are here for. So the next question was, okay, I'd come to Bible school, so I've gone off rail, and things that I'm doing off rail are not really bringing me joy. So no longer am I attending Bible school. No longer am I serving the Lord. Instead, I'm living with a man who has broken my heart, cheated on me in the worst way, has laid hands on me, and now I've gone and I've lost a set of twins. I had a good friend, P, with me at the time, and M. I can be honest, there's people that will carry you through life. There's people that God places in your life when you're going through hell. Because I cannot say what I was going through was anything but hell. I was living in hell on earth under the guise of I love him. I wasn't, they talk about somebody falling in love. I was drowning in love. I was drowning. I'd lost who I was. There was no sense of purpose anymore. I literally was a zombie. I was going into work and coming home, going into work and coming home, going into work and coming home. And our relationship just continued to just spiral. It just didn't feel like we were coming out. I wasn't coming up from under this water. I continued to be drowning, but holding on to him for dear life. I didn't realize at that time that actually when something's not serving you, it's better for you to just cut it off and then start again. Because at that point, I didn't think I could start again. At that point, I didn't think that I could be with another man. I didn't even, guys, I was getting attention from men even when I was pregnant. Like, I'd just be walking and you'd see these guys just kind of like go functions and people are still. So my worth wasn't gone, but he had crushed me to the point that I didn't see who I was. I didn't see my potential. And so I stayed in the cycle. So you can imagine my surprise when, not very long after we lost the twins, he looked at me and he said to me, "You're pregnant." I thought he was the cruelest person. I thought he was a demon. I said to him, "How can you say to me, I'm pregnant? I've just lost these babies. You're cruel." I thought he was being cruel. But this man had looked at me and he knew me. He knew my body. And he looked at me and he says, "You're pregnant." We went out, we bought a pregnancy test. Boom. Pregnant. Second pregnancy with him. This time, my manager I had an amazing manager. She allowed me to work between 11 and 3 because morning sickness was bad first thing in the morning and then it was bad in the evenings. So she literally allowed me to reduce my hours and work only between 11 and 3. And if I was really poorly, I didn't go. So I went from having a 5-day 8 to 5:30 job to having a 3-day 11 to 3 job, which was the best thing. It was what I needed. It was absolutely what I needed because I was able to rest just outside the pain, outside the heartache. I was just able to rest. My body was able to recoup while creating this new birth, this new person coming in. I was fearful. I became so afraid to pick up a box off the floor, to bend, I was an egg. I treated myself as an egg, guys. I became an egg. I wouldn't do anything that was strenuous. I wouldn't do anything strenuous because guess what? I couldn't afford to lose another baby. I couldn't afford to lose whoever this person was. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't. It wasn't going to be anything I could go through again. And he was quite sensitive. Baby daddy one was very sensitive with me at that time. I think I may not know how losing the twins felt for him, but for me, it really and truly was it felt like the end of the world, and it had a devastating impact on my life. And I can be honest and say I'm still experiencing pain when I think of them, and I think of my boys, and I think of what could have been, what could have been. I still feel a bit of pain. Not that I'm, grieving forever, but I do believe that there is still a level of grief that I experience because of my boys. So he began to treat me like an egg, and we attended our first scan again, and this time we're told we have a baby. And I didn't want to know. We had one baby, sorry, we were going to have one baby. I didn't want to know if it was a girl or a boy. I really didn't. Deep down, I wanted a boy. But I didn't want to know. And the sonographer spoiled it for us, because she turned around and said, "Oh, do you want to know what you're having?" And we said no. And she says, "Oh, well, that's okay, because I can't see anything." You can't see anything, leaves a girl. So now I know it's going to be having a girl. And it made me sensitive. It made me more sensitive to my baby. It made me begin to just soften. And in a way, I softened even towards him, because I'm not going to lie, guys, I was harsh. I was in pain, and I could say anything, and I was changing. The pain was changing me. I was becoming nasty, and I know it's no excuse. And I will always say to any woman, man, there's no excuse. If you're hurting, there's no excuse to be nasty to anyone. But you see, he wasn't expressive. He wasn't expressive around his pain. So I didn't know whether he actually even felt any pain. And that's sad to say. Fast forward a few months. I think I'm about 5-6 months then. Again, baby mama calls me. Baby mama calls me again. This time, I'm like, didn't know the title back then, but I think we were sister wives now. I think she'd accepted herself as my sister wife, and so she wasn't going anywhere. So she calls me and then asks me again that question about how many children do I think he has. My patience was long. If I tell you, my patience with her was long. I thought, I'm gonna let her tell me. She wants me to know. So baby mama tells me that he's got 4 children. Time stood still. Time literally stood still. 4 children. He's told me he's got 1. There are 3 other human beings on this earth that this man has not acknowledged, that this man has not told me about. 3 human beings. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I kept saying to myself, you're pregnant, you're pregnant, you're pregnant, you're pregnant. And I let myself breathe. And I thought, okay, there's 3 other people, yeah. So I came home and I asked him. I said, how many children do you have? The explosive came up. And this time he said that I wasn't going to buy the dramatics. Like, oh, someone's done him wrong. Why are they lying for him? I just wanted to know the truth. For the first time, I think, in his life, he told me the truth. And I truly think that was the first time he'd ever actually told me anything that was true. Because now the things were just like rolling off of each other. One lie was exposed to another lie, was exposed to another lie, was exposed to another lie. And he told me how he'd come about, of course, as a deceptive man. He denied the 3. He said there were suspicions. He told me he'd caught one of the women, one of the baby mothers, with an elderly man. So he thinks that she pinned the babies on him because this elderly man was married. Then one was like, oh, I think it is, but then she doesn't look like me. And it was all of this ooh-ha, hoo-ha, which was unnecessary, because even, I mean, like back then, guys, let's be honest, I'm talking about over 20 plus years ago. DNA was there, but it wasn't like easily accessible, but it was there. And so I said to him, there isn't an issue here. If these kids are potentially yours, let's arrange for the DNA test to be done. And you do DNA tests and prove if they are or they aren't. I went on, did some research, contacted some companies in London, asked about how it would be done with children that are in a different country, was told actually it's not that difficult, it's that they can arrange it and this DNA test can be done. Came back to him with full written down instructions of what we need to do to establish if these 3 other children are his. As usual, the lies kept coming and coming. Excuses kept coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. And I got to a point where I thought, you know what? This man is the most dangerous person to me. Firstly, he will lie left, right, and center. Secondly, he's cheating on me, potentially bringing me STDs, diseases, there was so much risk with being with him. Thirdly, he didn't care about me, because if you love someone and you care about them, you're going to be honest from the beginning. You're going to change. When you say you're stopping to do something, you're going to stop to do it because you love them and you care about how they feel. You don't want to hurt them. You want to see them, happy. You want to experience all these things. Guys, through all this time, the possessiveness and the jealousy did not stop. This man was obsessed. If I tell you, if I didn't pick up my phone, and this is Jesus as my witness, if I did not pick up my phone, I could have 50 calls back to 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 back. It was crazy how obsessively controlling he was, and yet at the same time the big player, the big dog guy, you know what I mean? It was really crazy. But I was growing, I was getting older, and now I was growing a person that I was going to have to be responsible for. I was having a baby. I was having a child. He'd been my child throughout the years of our relationship, because it almost felt like I was mothering him. I had to be responsible for the rent, the bills, the food. I had to be responsible for the cars. I had to be responsible for him. And I was having a baby. And that's where my power came. Because the minute there was that someone else that I had to look after, he diminished in my sight. Because guess what? A mother's love, the love you have for your baby, ooh, guy, no man matches. In my life, no man matches. So slowly, I was regaining my power, and I was regaining my power because I was going to be having a baby. We moved house in the time that I was expecting. Moved into a nicer house, actually, but cheaper, which was great. And I got excited doing up baby's room, sort of getting ready with the cart and all of these things. And this pregnancy was just as bad as pregnancy 1, because I was still as sick, but I had no constipation, and that was a relief. I wasn't eating much. I was still going through sort of really tough morning sickness. But what had happened is, because of the complications I'd had with my first pregnancy, I was considered high-risk pregnancies, which meant I went from just being like a regular mom on maternity unit, in the maternity unit where you have your scans at set periods and you're seeing your midwife at set periods. I went from that with pregnancy 1 to having a scan every month. I think I was having them every 2 weeks. I was seeing my midwife every 2-3 weeks it was, because it felt like I think I probably had about 10 appointments in a 9-month pregnancy, and most people will probably only see their midwife like 3 times. So I was seeing the midwife. I had a consultant doctor that was working with me, and I was seeing them when I'd go in for my scans. They will tell you that the NHS, the United Kingdom healthcare system, the NHS, that a lot of people say, oh, NHS doesn't do this. When you genuinely have an issue, when they know that there's a problem, the NHS is amazing, because I was treated with baby gloves, guys. I really, really was treated with baby gloves. And I can only thank God, because I think that just sort of the amount of care that was put into my pregnancy really contributed to me having a safe delivery of a baby girl. It was the most amazing thing. I had this is God's honest truth. I prayed. I got a book called The Supernatural Childbirth. And in this book, this woman was encouraging you how to pray over your baby. Things like you praying over your baby's organs, that your baby's going to have all its organs, that your baby's going to have all ligaments. It's going to have, sort of 10 fingers, 10 toes, praying that your baby will have ears and eyes. And it sounded like it was extreme for someone that didn't understand that, you can have complications. But once I'd lost the twins, I understood now pregnancy can come with complications, and therefore I needed to pray for my baby's safe arrival. So in my pregnancy, I was praying. I was calling my baby's liver. I was praying over my baby's heart, no heart condition. And I was, I had this list of things. But one of the things that I did is I prayed and I said to God, after the twins, I don't want a difficult labor. I want a quick, easy labor. I want to start labor, and 3.5 hours later, I want to give birth. Why I said 3.5 hours was because I wanted to be able to drive from home to doctor's surgery and get in, and they set me up, and then I have my baby. And a few days before having my beautiful baby, I was walking up and down, trying to do my best. I was doing, they say, eat chili. I was eating chili. I was walking. I was exercising. I was just ready to give birth. And it was summer. It was June, and it was hot. And I was just now frustrated. The last month of pregnancy, all you want to do is just give birth. I was like, I just want to have this baby out of me. And I was actually like really miserable. I want this baby out. I'm tired. And because I'd been pregnant for like 2 years straight. So it was just like, oh, I want the baby out. I'm tired. I've just been pregnant. Anyway, the day I went into labor, I woke up baby daddy and I said, I think I'm in labor. And he laughed. He says, no, you're not. I said, I am. I think I'm in labor. So we called the hospital to say, okay, we're in labor. And the hospital are like, oh, come in when the contractions are like, I don't know, 5 minutes apart or something. I said to him, listen, I prayed and I asked God to give me a 3.5 hour labor. So this 5 minutes she's talking about is not happening. Let's go. Jumping in the car. Now, when you're in labor and you are driving, oh my gosh, you feel every bump on that road. Every single bump. I was screaming. I thought he was being... I'm like, what route have you gone? You're going over speed humps. And he's like, no, we're just going on the straight road. And I'm like, no, you're going over these speed humps. And I'm screaming and I'm in so much pain. Get to the hospital. The midwife's like, oh yeah, no, because we're expecting you, but not right now. Your contractions aren't close enough. And I said to her, I'm having this baby in the next hour. The midwife looked at me, that like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. We've seen pregnancies and all. I said to them, listen, I am really going to be having this baby in the next hour, because by then it was like 2.5 hours. Or 2 hours. Yeah, about 2.5 hours, I think it was. They gave me a room and they were like, the midwife walked out. Oh, she's like, I'm going to come back when she's dilated. And I could feel now that I am really gets into a stage where I'm getting ready, and I sent him. I said, go and get the midwife. The midwife came. She's like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to stop pushing. You're not yet ready. She came and she checked me, and I was 10 centimeters dilated. She couldn't believe it. She was like, what has just happened? She's like, and then she's saying to me, okay, don't. And I said to her, I feel like I'm about to push. Babe, my umbilical cord had fallen out. I had what's called a prolapse. And a prolapse is where the umbilical cord falls out before the baby. And so she said to me, Linda, in the next few minutes, this room is going to be full of people. I don't want you to panic, but I need help. And she pressed this red button. You watch A&E, you watch ER, watch these programs, you see the team of people just running in. Guys, it's real life. It's real life. I was like this, and within seconds, there were like maybe 15 people come in. One jumped on the bed, one is coming, they grabbing me, the one is getting ready to do an epidural. It was just manic. It was just absolutely manic, like unbelievably manic. And they're saying to me, calm down, and he's looking confused. I'm looking at him for support, and we're just thinking, oh my God, what's going on? We've just lost the twins. We can't go through this again. And I'm like, I can't. And I said to God, I can't go through this again. If you take this baby away from me, I will never worship you again. I will never serve you again. And I was broken watching them working on me and running around. And they're wheeling me now into theatre, and they're taking me into theatre. And I said to them, I feel like I need to push. The doctor is saying to me, please don't push. We're going to be in theatre in a few minutes. I said, no, I feel like I need to push. And they could see like the veins in my face, on my head, everything. They wheeled me back like into another room. And as they did that, I began to push. And they were like, no, don't push, don't push, don't push. And I'm like, I can't. I need to push. God, guys, God is an amazing God. Because then they said, okay, we're not going to have time to take you into theatre. We're going to use a forceps. And a forceps is like a, how do I describe it? It's got like a hook. But basically what it does, it goes in and it grabs the baby's head and it allows them to pull the baby out. So here I am, second pregnancy, in critical condition, because I'm having a prolapse and they have to get the baby out. They used this forceps and they pulled the baby out. It was hard because my baby came out and did not cry. They were slapping the baby. Next thing, the pediatrician and his team of nurses all ran out with baby to the ICU. Baby unit is called Skabuya in England, and they rushed the baby. So yeah, I am. They're working on me because now they need to get the placenta out and they need to stitch me up. And I haven't heard my baby cry. I haven't heard my baby cry. Have you ever heard of temporary madness? Temporary, meaning it was short term. I experienced temporary madness because I'd been in that hospital the year before. Where I didn't get to hear my two babies cry. And here I was. Third child, second pregnancy, and I didn't hear that baby cry. The team around me, the nurses, the doctors that stayed while the pediatrician team took the baby, the team that stayed around me were phenomenal. Those guys reassured me. They're like, she's going to be fine. Don't you worry. We just want to take care of you. Don't you worry. Baby's just gone. They're going to be fine. Baby's going to be fine. And guys, I felt like I was going mad. I did not hear my baby cry. And every film I ever watched, babies scream. When they hit that bottom, that baby screams. Every nephew, niece that I had screamed and cried, and here I was, just on that bed, them doing what they needed to do, but having this battle with God, making promises to God that if he saved my baby, if God would save my baby, I would do A, B, C, D, F, G. I really, really and truly wanted to fly to the room my baby was, but I understood that something needed to be done. About 30 minutes after they'd taken baby, and by the end they'd stitched me up, I was going to go and have a wash, and the pediatrician came and he said to me, your baby's in critical condition. Your baby swallowed amniotic fluid because my waters broke as the placenta was coming out. As the umbilical cord was coming out, so baby swallowed amniotic fluid in that instant. Baby was alive, but in a very critical state. I just told them I needed to see my baby. I just needed to see my baby. So they wheeled me to the baby unit, and I saw my baby, tubes everywhere, this tiny little person with tubes everywhere. I sunk. I literally just sat there and I looked at my baby and I had nothing left. You see, the pain this man had put me through for the past 3 years, losing my twins, and now watching my baby girl in critical condition fighting for life. I was done. I had nothing. And I say this just because sometimes we think we need to be feeling something. So sometimes you think, I should be feeling anxious. I should be feeling worried. This is something bad. I should be feeling. I had nothing. There were no feelings. I was like just overwhelmed. Called my mom, my dad. I shared I needed prayer. Called all my Christian friends and family. I need prayer. People need to pray. So I knew I couldn't carry it. I couldn't do it by myself, but I needed people to do it. And so I had people begin to intercede for me, to fight that battle, to come and hold me up when I couldn't do anything. That support I needed came, and it's not support I can say I saw, but I felt. I felt that strength, that resilient spirit that we have in us just coming up and saying, you know what, my baby's going to be okay. So they asked me to pump some milk because they believe that first milk, the first milk that comes out when a woman has a baby is the most healthiest bit. So I pumped out that milk. Oh my goodness, I pumped it out. I think I filled 10 bottles, and they're like, oh, she's not going to be able to drink all of that. But I was like, let my baby have my milk. And so they gave my baby that milk. And I truly, this may just be an African woman in me saying it, but the nutrition that is there, I believe, just went in and began that healing work with my baby. We spent a week in a hospital in the special unit, and I am so pleased to tell you all she made it through. After a couple of hours on the first day, they allowed me to hold her, just to hold her for a few minutes, because she was still quite in a fragile state. And it was everything. It was everything I needed to be able to go on. It was everything, holding this beautiful little baby. And I tell you guys, my daughter's beautiful. Holding this beautiful little baby in my hands. And fighting, believing with everything in me that she was going to make it. We looked at each other and a bond was there, but it was no longer the bond of me and him. It was the bond of parenthood. I looked at him and I remember thinking, you've hurt me. You've done these horrible things, but you've also given me this beautiful baby. And so we spent the week in hospital, and it was so wonderful to be able to take her back home. It was so, so wonderful to be able to take her back home. And I was a mum. I was a mother. I had my beautiful baby girl. I was with him, but he wasn't my world anymore. She was. So join me in the next episode when I go on to speak about my life and what I've been through. I just want to encourage people and just say, we all have a purpose on this life. We all have a reason to be. Sometimes not so easy to find out what it is, but it is there. So I just want to encourage you. I really just want to encourage you to hold on, trust, believe, because better days are always coming. Better days are always coming.